Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the 3D Critic channel. Today I'm going to give you guys my performance review on the Adidas Harden Volume 9s. This is the successor to the Harden Volume 8s, which was a pretty good shoe. When it came to the traction, it did go through a dusting phase, but after you got through that, it was one of the grippiest traction setups you could have gotten from last year. Cushioning was very good, very forgiving, responsive and bouncy at the same time. While they did look weird and alien-esque when it comes to the design of it, it was pretty comfortable at the end of the day, as well as the lockdown and the support to boot being very good on top of that. I was curious to see if there are any improvements, any changes to make it even better. They are retailing for $160, which is the same price as the Volume 8. So if you guys are interested, they are available on Adidas website right now, as well as in Dick's Sporting Goods if you want to try them out for yourselves in store. If you want a link, I will leave a link in the description box below if you guys are interested. Now, when it comes to the try-on experience, it is quite strange when it comes down to it because there really isn't a tongue to hold on to. It's just these two pull tabs that you have on both sides of this sock liner here. And you basically have to treat it like a sock just to get your foot inside the shoe. So it is strange in the beginning, but you do get used to it after a while, and it feels like it's second nature at this point. And as far as sizing goes, I would go down half a size for me personally, just to get like a decent overall fit. When it came to the width, it was actually pretty nice and conformed. I didn't experience any tightness there. It does break in over time, so you are going to have to factor that in when it comes to getting your size. And for the length, when I went down half a size, it does run a little long. There's a little bit of dead space on the toe box when I did that. So if you want like an average size fit, I would probably go down half a size. For now footers, you should probably do the same. If you are a longer foot, it will probably be perfect for you. But if you go down half a size, for wide footers, you should be fine going true to size. Just be mindful that if you have a really wide foot, you probably need to go up half a size. But at that point, I would probably avoid these in general because of the extra length that you're going to get in the shoe. Now, for the traction pattern itself, you're going to get this two-tone translucent outsole that is full length throughout the shoe, and it basically has converging radial patterns throughout, as well as these two rubber radial pods that you get here in the forefoot. And as far as how it grips, it is pretty good at the end of the day with a little inconsistencies here or there. However, at first they were quite difficult to play in because it picked up a lot of dust first and foremost, where it accumulated a good bit of chunks where you have to like rub it off consistently, and it does pick up pretty quickly, so it was kind of annoying to deal with basically on the first day for it to acclimate itself. But after that first day, it does eventually improve over time, where it is a little bit more consistent when it comes to the grip profile of the shoe. So just like the Volume 8s, in my opinion, it did go through that dusting phase and it got a little better the more you played in it. So that was pretty much a similar experience when it comes to the rubber warm-up when it comes to that. And once you get through that, lateral movements felt pretty good at the end of the day. There were a little inconsistencies here or there where I did slide out a little bit, which was kind of annoying to deal with. But for the most part, it has a pretty decent grip when it comes to lateral movements. For vertical movements, hard stops were very good. And the get-offs were good as well, but you do slide a little bit here and there where you try to hit the ground running to get like a really quick first step in that respect. So little inconsistencies here and there after you go through that dusting phase. And durability as well, they do hold up pretty good in indoor courts. The translucent rubber is basically just fraying in the higher areas a little bit, but the radial pods I don't see anywhere from what I can see, so that is a good benefit with that. But I would keep these indoors because of the pliability of the rubber itself, as well as the shallowness of the rubber itself. So you're probably just going to burn through it if you're going to play in these outdoors. But as long as you keep them indoors, you should be fine with just a little bit of fraying here and there in the higher areas. So at the end of the day, it is kind of similar to the Volume 8s in my opinion when it comes to that dusting phase, but you do get a little bit more inconsistencies when it comes to the grip profile when you're doing lateral movements and vertical movements especially. For the cushioning setup itself, you're going to get a full-length boost midsole along with this bottom-loaded infinity-shaped TPU shanklate, which is pretty much the same setup that you get in the Volume 8s, whereas in the Volume 8s you get jet boost rather than just regular boost that you get in the 9s. So as far as how they feel, at first they did feel a little clunky, especially in the back half of the shoe with the shape that you get in the back, and it's not as rounded compared to the 8s. And you also feel a little stiff initially. It feels not as forgiving as I thought it would be. But after some break-in time, it actually improves when it comes to the general feel of the cushioning setup itself. And as a result, forefoot cushioning has a nice responsive feel overall once it's broken in. And along with the shanklate, it has a nice bouncy feel to it as well. So it's pretty much on par with what I felt in the Volume 8s when it comes to the forefoot cushioning. And as you move into the heel, like I said, when you break it in, it actually feels very forgiving after some break-in time. Initially, it did feel kind of heavy and kind of clunky in the back, but with the shape of the shoe, it does feel a little bit more forgiving, and as a result, It feels nice and plush with really good compression, and on top of that, really good impact protection as well. So you have to give it some time to get used to it, and the more you play in it, the more forgiving it feels, and the better feel that you're going to get in the shoe as well. As far as fluidity goes, they are very smooth. Like I said, initially it is a little clunky and a little bit bulky in the back, but as you start to break it in, it starts to feel very smooth, and pretty much the heel to toe transitions felt really seamless at the end of the day once you break it in. And it has a nice snap to it with the shank plate that you get on the bottom. They are a little bit mellow compared to the Volume 8s in my opinion, where in the Jet Boost the Volume 8s, they had a little more of a swingy feel, where this is a little bit more mellowed out, but you do get a nice responsive and bouncy feel at the end of the day. So that's like mainly the only difference that I can see between the 8s and the 9s when it comes to the cushioning setup. The 8s had pretty much a little livelier responsive feel compared to these. You do get a responsive bouncy feel, but they feel more mellowed out when it comes to the feel of the shoe itself. Now, diving into the materials, you're going to get this paneled synthetic material with these 3 exposed textile mesh slits that you get on the lateral and as well as on the medial side of the shoe. And for the rest of the shoe, you're going to get this stretchy nylon material here in the midfoot, and it extends into the heel with this stretchy material that you get, which basically looks like a sock liner. And you do get some additional padding here in the Achilles area, which is pretty good at the end of the day. As far as how they feel, to start off, they do feel kind of stiff when it comes to the panels, but after you break it in, it starts to feel a little bit more forgiving. But when you are doing that, you're going to experience a lot of creasing, especially here on the forefoot. As you can see, it is starting to crease like crazy in a numerous amount of spots, especially here on both sides of the forefoot. So that is kind of issue when it comes to how it's going to look like over time. And in one spot, it is starting to separate from the rubber itself, from the outsole itself. So that is a little bit of an issue in the long run when it comes to the rigidity of the materials itself. There is no padding in the midfoot, so you're basically just relying on the stretchy sock-like material that you're going to get in the midfoot. But luckily, the laces are integrated with the panels rather than the sock liner, so you're going to get a little bit more forgiveness, and as a result, I didn't experience any lace irritation in the midfoot. The heel is actually quite comfortable. In addition to the sock liner, you do get additional padding here in the heel, which feels very nice and cumbersome around your ankle. But when it comes to these panels on the top of the ankle area, it does rub on my ankle a little bit. After some break-in time, when you keep playing them, it does eventually go away, but it is going to be a continuous issue when you keep putting them on. That's probably going to be the first thing that you're going to experience when it comes to discomfort in the shoe. But nonetheless, the more you play in them, the more comfortable they basically feel. As far as the aesthetics look, it is a really good-looking design in my opinion. Better than the Volume 8s in my opinion, with that alien-esque look. The slits basically on both sides of the shoe gives it a very nice aggressive look, and it kind of looks like the Nike Foamposites in my opinion, the Foamposite ones, but it's basically Adidas version with their logo instead of the Nike logo in my opinion. So the looks of it is pretty similar to that, and I also like the carbon fiber look that you get in the back with the Harden logo, as well as the Adidas logo implemented on the rubber, and it extends and transitions into the outsole itself, which is a really nice look at the end of the day. So as far as looks go, it is better looking compared to the Volume 8s in my opinion. And as far as the overall material is concerned, they are good on feet, like I said earlier, but they do need some time to break in when it comes to the materials, in my opinion. But the main gripe that I have is the serious creasing that you're going to get. So over time, it's just going to look a little bit more gnarly in my opinion, and it's going to start to break down, especially open creases and separate from the rubber itself when it comes to the outsole and material connected to it. Moving into lockdown, for me, it's actually very good when it comes to lockdown, which was surprising to me, especially in the forefoot. You actually get some pretty solid containment when it comes to the width of the shoe. But like I said earlier, when I was talking about the fit, they do run a little long, especially when I go down half a size, so that was kind of an issue to deal with. But luckily, when it came to the width, it was nice and conformed and really good when it came to lateral movements. And the same could be said surprisingly for vertical movements, where I didn't really slide as much as I expected it to be when it came down to hard stop. So that was a good sign as far as forefoot lockdown is concerned. Midfoot lockdown, you do get this stretchy material that gives you the feeling of basically putting on an extra sock. So it has basically double containment when it comes to like putting on 2 socks at once. But you do get these cables that are implemented on the panels of the shoe, so you're going to have basically a wrap on top of the double sock feel that you're going to get, so it provides a really nice wrap around your foot and you're basically contained at all times. And the heel, it wraps around your ankle pretty well with the sock liner, and you do get nice sculpting and padding around the heel, so you basically are going to experience zero heel slippage when you are playing in these. So very good when it comes to heel lockdown, probably the best I've experienced so far when it comes to this line of shoes. So at the end of the day, very good when it comes to the general lockdown itself. Aside from a little bit of sliding here in the forefoot, especially when it comes to hard stops in general, it gives you a double sock containment feel as well as zero heel slippage when it comes to the overall design of the shoe itself, giving you really solid lockdown aside from sliding in the forefoot, especially vertically. And last but not least, when it comes to support, it is a very planted shoe at the end of the day. Firstly, as far as lateral support, you're basically cradled within the Boost midsole itself, so you're going to have some nice support inside the shoe. And on top of that, you do get a rounded midsole on the outside of the shoe with rubber going up into the material a little bit here in the forefoot with these two rubber pieces here, and you get extra support from the material itself. And it extends into the midfoot with a good bit of containment from the material itself, so you're going to have some nice containment in the midfoot, and it continues into the heel with the panels that you get, as well as an internal heel counter to give you really nice support in the back half of the shoe itself. So front and back lateral support, you're basically covered inside and outside with the cradling feel that you get from the midsole itself. And torsional rigidity, it is very rigid because of the bottom loaded shank plate that you get, and it's basically full length, so you're going to have really nice rigidity throughout the shoe where you need it. Basically in the midfoot, it's basically really hard to move with enough flexibility here in the forefoot, that way it doesn't feel too stiff and you're basically balanced inside the shoe at all times because of that. And the base of the shoe is fairly wide. It is a little bit on the narrow side, but it is wide enough and flat enough, so you're going to have a nice planted feel when it comes to landing on your own 2 feet. So at the end of the day, you're basically getting really nice support inside and outside of the shoe when it comes to really nice balance, and you're going to get a plethora of supportive stabilizers for lateral movements on top of that. So at the end of the day, it is a very planted shoe with really good containment at the end of the day. So to sum it up for you guys, this was a very weird shoe to deal with when it comes to the overall experience that I've had with this. The very first day, I really didn't like them. The fit was weird, the traction was sliding all over the place, and it picked up a lot of dust. Cushioning felt kind of stiff, and the back felt very heavy when it came down to it. And I experienced discomfort when it came to the ankle area and all that jazz when it came down to it. But the more I played in it, basically the more comfortable I felt in it, and it felt a lot better the more I played in it. Especially with the traction, it does improve over time, but you do get a little inconsistencies here or there. And at that point, I would most likely go to the volume 8s because it was a little more consistent after you go through that dusting phase. Cushioning is very good once you break it in. Nice response, nice bounce, and very comfortable at the end of the day. But Jet Boost in the 8s is a little bit more lively and bouncy, in my opinion. Materials do look better when it comes down to it, but the creasing is kind of an issue, and the more you play in it, the more gnarly it's going to look, especially in the forefoot. But they do look pretty nice, and it is an improvement to the 8s in my opinion. But lockdown and support, it's no slouch, just like in the 8s. So it is a very nice and containing shoe. So if you are a patient person when it comes to breaking in a shoe, this is probably one of the best that you're going to get, in my opinion. But if you are impatient and you have no patience whatsoever on breaking in a shoe and you just want performance right away, I would avoid these completely because it does take some time. It takes me like a full whole day just to get used to it, and the more you play in it, the better it gets. So if you are impatient, avoid these at all costs. But if you have patience to break it in, it is going to reward you in the long run when it comes to the traction, cushioning, and the materials, especially at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, they do feel similar to the 8s in my opinion, but there are some things in the 8s that I like a little bit more than the 9s. Considering the materials look a little bit better than the 9s, but the cushioning and the traction is a little bit better in the 8s in my opinion. Thank you guys for watching this video. This has been my performance review on the Harden Volume 9s. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and comment down below on what you think of this shoe. Does this shoe look better than the Volume 8s in my opinion? And is it a better shoe than the Volume 8s, or are the 8s better than the 9s? I'd like to know your thoughts, as well as on any other questions that you might have. If you'd like to stay up to date with future videos that I'll be posting, hit the subscribe button down below, and it'll greatly support the channel as well. And if you'd like to see my review on the Volume 8s or the Volume 7s that I reviewed a couple years back, I will leave it on the corners of the screen right here. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, all of that information will be in the description box below. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I hope this was beneficial to you guys. And until next time, keep shooting.